All right, now we are officially started after the trash talking with Mr. Johnson over there.
Yeah, officially. Yeah, trying to get him to wear some 18 strong swag. I keep trying to get Hayden. I'm like, come on, dude, just throw 1 week, just throw an 18 strong on your sleeve. You've got an open sleeve. Just do. I'll send you the shirt. We'll put the embroidery on it. You know, no charge to you. It's cool.
Hey,
Hasn't bit yet.
free shirt, man.
Those spots on his shirt now cost a little bit of jack.
Yeah.
In fact, I got a message from TJ. For those of you that don't know TJ, most of you do not. He's my buddy in Kansas City, and he sent me a message this morning. Hey, yeah, me and Jane, we decided to sneak down to Bay Hill for the day, so they're out there following Hayden all around today. Pretty cool. Nice. And he's playing in the Players Championship next week. I got the official word.
Oh, Hayden is?
So yeah,
that's
you want
awesome.
to go down there?
Yeah, I do.
You want to take a quick road trip?
I do like me some Florida.
Well, let's discuss. Maybe we can make that happen for leave Wednesday, come back Thursday night or something.
Oh man, it's 1 week before the kids' spring break. The TPC didn't
That's perfect.
consult.
That's
didn't
perfect. You
consult
won't be
me.
missing any spring break. We
Um,
got Shepard coming from the stadium or something.
Oh yeah, I think he's in the.
Are you in the soccer stadium?
He's in the MLS stadium.
Centene Park.
Wow, that's amazing. There are people there right this second. It's not even built yet.
There actually are people there. I know a guy taking a tour there right now. Our buddy Michael A.
Oh yeah. I got the call from the guy. So if you guys, for you non-St. Louis people, we have an MLS team coming here that's going to start next spring. So now we're starting to be able to pick out our season tickets, like where they are in the stadium. And so you get to go take the tour and just like put your name on where to go. So I think Mike's probably a little bit higher level than I am as far as a cost per ticket. But the guy said within the next month, we'll be able to go there and do that, which I'm pretty freaking excited about that.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm eagerly awaiting my call.
Yeah, I saw I had an email from him. Wilson.
Yeah, that's the same guy. Not Timmy's buddy, Wilson.
No, thank goodness. All right. Well, what do we got going on this week, Rhino? We got the Bay Hill. We got Arnie Palmer tournament.
Yeah, that's a good one. I went there when I was 17.
That's right. I forgot about that.
With my buddy's dad, and he's that dad. So that was our spring break in high school when we were, I think, sophomores, I guess, our juniors.
Jamie's dad?
Jamie's dad.
Oh, boy.
So it was me, two of my high school buddies, and a dad. And he was by far the least responsible of everybody.
That sounds about right.
And definitely drank more than everybody. And talked to more girls. He's interesting. I'll give him that. Yeah, it's a cool course if you haven't been there. And again, I haven't been there in years, but yeah, if you get the chance, go down there.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
What's was that the year Tiger won?
Oh man, I think Tiger might be younger than me. So that would have been
Tiger's 46, I believe.
Yeah, so I just turned 46. So that was 1992 when I was down there.
Okay.
That's pretty early.
That's early.
He would have been 17 as well. Yeah.
He may have been there. Yeah, don't let the the boyish good looks fool you, Brandon. I am an old man.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, we got so Buckley's sitting 1 under right now, and Adam Long had a good day, 3 under, T8 right now. So it'd be nice to see both the 18 strong faction in the mix for the weekend. Be cool.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So this week has turned into strength training week, which is, for a community called 18 Strong, it's kind of in our wheelhouse.
It's kind of a big deal.
Which kind of begs a question. So I was writing an email to somebody about this kind of thing, just answering a question, what's the preferred term these days? Is it resistance training, strength training, weight training? Are they all the same?
I don't care. I mean, I don't have a preference. I think resistance training is probably, I've seen that a lot lately. I mean, strength training, I think people think weights, like heavy weights. That's kind of the connotation that I get. Resistance, I think people now also attribute resistance bands. So you've got
Right.
that in there as well. But it's all semantics no matter what. Basically it's just moving against resistance, moving against weight, moving against some sort of pressure. So yeah.
All right. So they're all interchangeable. Even like weight training, you can make the case, body weight, even
Body
though
weight.
you're not lifting weights. And I guess
I think if you say weight training, most people are thinking dumbbells, barbells, stuff like that. But
that's kind of
neither
how
here
I
nor
go.
there.
No, it's not. Yeah. So then today we had, I know you talked about weight training for weight loss using your cousin, my brother, Tim, as the example and he had this conversation with me, all through January. So he doesn't care that I'm talking about him, and I don't care that if he did care that I'm talking about him. But so all through January, he didn't drink anything, ate pretty well. And when he says workout, I think he just does a lot of cardio stuff. And I know you've talked to him a little bit deeper about this. But what do you think he goes? He told me how much he weighs. I think he's like 145 or something. So he's not.
He's probably about 150 or so. So he's
Sure.
he's a.
He doesn't have much to
You would
lose.
look at Tim and you would think, man, he's a pretty. Guys don't like when you call him skinny.
Right.
But I would not.
He is.
He's not lean. I wouldn't call him. People would say he's lean, but when you use the actual definition of lean, he's not lean, because I bet he's going at about 15 to 20% body fat. And so, yeah, because I remember talking to you about this when Timmy initially had said something to you, and then we had a little chat, and we didn't get too deep into it. I wish he would, ask me like, hey, can you give me some help? Because obviously we know the things that he could just change a little bit and dial things in. But what happens when you start eating a little bit cleaner, and you stop drinking, first you're putting yourself in a great situation to really get leaned out and to even build muscle. But what many guys and girls do, or I should say do not do, especially when we're in kind of the 30, 40 and beyond crowd, is the trend is to still lean towards more of the cardiovascular type stuff, cardio,
Right.
treadmill, Peloton, and then light weights and a lot of repetition kind of stuff, right? Especially for guys. Well, for everybody, I should say. If you don't stimulate your muscles with some heavier loads, and I'm just talking heavier for you, not 400 pounds heavy, but and this goes back to when I was talking to Tony Soib, our friend and confidant, and he was doing my body fat a while back, and this was probably 2 years ago, and I was not nearly as lean as I should have been. And he looked at me, he's like, what have you been lifting? Feather dumbbells? Like, if you're not stimulating your body, you're not going to be stimulating the testosterone that's going to help to build your body as well. That testosterone is the anabolic hormone. And so lifting heavier weights, especially doing that with the lower body, is where you're going to see the biggest boost in your testosterone levels from those workouts, and your muscles are going to get the biggest bang for their buck. They are then going to turn into fat burning machines where they're burning calories even when you're not lifting weights, because the larger you can make your muscles, and don't get scared about the whole being bulky thing. We talked about that in the emails this week too. You're not going to get big and bulky, but But as you lift a little bit more, you lift a little bit heavier, and your muscles increase in size, your muscle cells and fibers increase in size, they are going to require more calories on a daily basis. They're going to burn more calories. And that's when you're naturally going to kind of turn your body into more of a fat burning machine as you go. And that's why, the stronger you get, the easier it is to get leaner. But if you're just relying on eating a little bit better, not drinking and doing cardio, you're never stimulating that muscle growth. And then that's where you get into Timmy's situation. So I probably, if I were giving Timmy advice, again, Tim's probably what, 5'9", 5'10", 150 pounds, 15 to 20% body fat. I would simply say, let's make sure, first of all, let's look at your diet, and let's not worry about tracking calories or any of that kind of stuff, but let's see how much protein you're getting. I guarantee Tim probably doesn't eat nearly enough protein. And
Right.
protein for anybody, I would say, is roughly a gram of protein per your body weight in pounds, maybe a little bit less for females. So I would say first, let's start there, Tim. Let's just make sure you're getting good protein. Make sure you're eating vegetables at every meal. Let's just start pretty simple. And then let's look at your workout, because I bet Tim's workout was maybe some dumbbells, maybe some curls and some chest press, and then go do the elliptical or something like that. I guarantee there weren't any split squats, deadlifts, squats, goblet squats, any of those kind of things. So I would
Right.
probably push pretty heavy on the lower body strengthening for him. And for most guys, because they tend to neglect that. They don't like to do the lower body stuff. And again, that's where you're going to get most of your caloric burn in a workout, but also biggest bang for your buck when it comes to increasing your strength and muscle. And just that alone, I bet in 2 weeks, he would start to see a pretty big change. In fact, that'd be kind of a fun experiment if we brought him in, did his body fat here in the gym, put him on a program for 2 weeks, had him keep doing what he was doing diet wise, and then test him in 2 weeks. I guarantee he'd be down in his weight. I mean, really, that's pretty much what I've done during the Forge. I started eating cleaner. I made sure that I started lifting heavier. And again, not crazy heavy stuff. I don't ever go super crazy heavy, but you need to make sure that it's a challenging weight for you in whatever exercise program you're doing.
Yeah. I'll big brother him and make him do this. Turn him into a guinea pig too. Yeah, that's it. And I was actually having this conversation with Murphy, who's my 12-year-old son now, because he's so into soccer, and he sees Cristiano Ronaldo and the six pack. I'm like, number one, Murphy, you're 12 years old. It's not going to happen. He just, because he went to the doctor yesterday for his yearly thing, because he just had his birthday, as you know. And we're talking about like cardio versus lifting weights, and I kind of got a little deep in the woods for a 12-year-old, but I told him, when you eat something, Murphy, it goes into like 3 buckets. It's one, just day-to-day function, controls your brain, the rest of your body. That's, everybody burns X amount of calories per day. The second would be, if you overeat, you store it. That's the other place it goes. Or the third would be like muscle repair. And I said, that's where you get, the tone. That's where people lose weight. For like cardio, you're burning the calories when you're doing the exercise. Whereas when you strength train, you're burning the calories while you're doing the exercise, and then 24 to 48 hours after, whilst your body rebuilds. And then again, like you said, just because by the mere fact that the muscles are bigger, they require more calories to move day to day. So it's almost like it used to be like a 2-for-1, but now it's like a 3-for-1, because it's hitting all 3 of those buckets every time. Plus, it's more fun.
Yeah. When you think of calories and during your workouts and everything, you're not going to burn as many calories during a weight workout. And
No.
so I think people see that and they're like, oh, it's not as effective. Well, it's a longer burn. And again, it's building a new system. It's building a more efficient system, is the way I like to look at it. So it's going to be doing it consistently 24 hours a day, as opposed to just during that 45 minutes or whatever it is. the other thing is with the cardio stuff, I'm a big fan of, the high intensity, sprint workouts. I almost go one or the other. I would prefer either doing the high intensity workouts, or I think people do sometimes forget or maybe don't even understand the benefit of just a long walk too. Like one of the things that I've been doing, we were talking about this morning, as a matter of fact, is the ruck. But even rucking is basically with a backpack with weights. But even doing that without a backpack, we've got another trainer here in the gym. His name's Eric, and he's kind of on a mission of getting in tip top shape. And every morning he goes for a 40 or 45-minute walk. And I mean, sometimes he's in here at 5 o'clock in the morning, so he does his walk before that. So,
Oh my goodness.
if you thought I was crazy getting up and rucking at 5:15 in the morning, Eric's sometimes out there at like 3:45. But he makes time to do it. He does that, and then he usually has some other sort of workout that he does. But and so he never runs. He never does sprints. I've seen him on the rower sometimes, but it's sometimes just getting out and doing the walk is important. Because that's going to burn calories as well. And then you can do your strength training, and then boom, you don't have to go and like crush yourself in the gym. I saw another guy come into the gym here last week, and I don't know this gentleman. I only saw him for the first time that day and then the day after. And he was kind of the epitome of what we talk about, people trying to go at it too hard, too fast. And not knocking this guy, he's coming in, he's working his tail off. And I love to see that, but he's an overweight dude. He's probably close to 250, 300 pounds. And he comes in and he does a little bit of a warm up on the cardio. And then all of a sudden I see him get down. He's doing like 20 burpees. And then he goes to the pull down machine. He's going like super heavy on the pull downs. Is doing these circuits. And like within 15 minutes, he's like just dripping with sweat.
Right.
And I'm like, man, this guy is working so freaking hard that I guarantee I'm not going to see him in 2 weeks. He's
Right.
just going to stop coming.
Totally
like,
unsustainable. Right.
He's just trying to do so much so quickly. And doing the burpees and stuff like that. Like, it's not good for him. The form is terrible. He's dropping down into a push-up position. Like, he's going to hurt himself. And I'm like, man, but you can't be that guy that walks over and says like, hey dude, you're doing this all wrong. But I just feel bad for him because he has the desire to do it. And he's obviously willing to work hard. But he just doesn't have the right direction on the fact that it could be way simpler. Like, we could simplify things so much for him. And then a lot of that is for somebody like that is going to be, we got to look at the diet stuff too. You can't outwork all this stuff in the
Right.
gym here, because that's where 80% of it then comes down to a diet plan that you have to stick to for a long period of time. That's a guy that would be amazing to go through the 40-day forge and just do some simple strength training workouts, maybe get him walking every day, but get him committed to no alcohol and a good clean diet for 40 days. A guy like that would lose 25 pounds.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The more overweight you are, the faster it is. And I think I don't know if we've been sold a bill of goods, but every commercial you see, like Nike or Gatorade, everybody's just sweating their ass off in the gym. So that everybody equates that to when you see, name a LeBron James who's, completely shredded. It, it makes you think, oh, that's what LeBron James is doing. And now LeBron James is doing a lot of stuff. That's probably a bad example, but yeah, you don't need to be sweating like that and making yourself miserable for 45 minutes every day.
Well,
and actually, I was speaking of like a walking thing. I was trying to make a point, and I said, well, look at the worst point I've ever made. Like, look at Jared from Subway, who ended up being like the worst person on the planet, but he walked himself from big, huge guy to skinny, fat guy. And then right to jail after that for being an idiot.
Right.
But he is a good example of just how walking is way more beneficial than we think.
Well, so for those of you that have been along with our Forge journey, today is my last day of the Forge.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is my it's a 40-day forge, but this is my 60th day for those of you who know the story. But I'm going to post tomorrow. I will post some pictures of after I do my body fat and my weigh in and all that stuff. I am the leanest I've ever been in my life right now. And I did, aside from my walking in the morning, I think I did the rower one time. So in all of my workouts, I did nothing but strength training, some mobility stuff, and I walked with my weight pack. And that was it. So I didn't do any. I went for a mountain bike ride with my son. No, I didn't. That was before we started. So I didn't do any. There was never a sweating kind of a moment throughout this whole deal. It was diet and it was strength training, and that was it. And then the walk. So if you think that you have to do all this crazy ass stuff to get lean and get ripped and shredded and strong and this and that, you don't. You just have to do it smart. And yeah, my workouts were hard, but they weren't they weren't the worst workouts I've ever done as far as strength training either. They were just very, very structured, very dialed in. I stuck to them 100%. I had my watch on. So like in between sets, I had my rest break. So there was no effing around during my workouts. I would do my set. I'd hit my timer. I'd wait my 30 seconds. I'd go do my next exercise. And I did them exactly as programmed. And that's all it is. You have to have a plan in place. You have to eat well. You have to lift some weights, and you have to follow it for a decent amount of time. In this case, it was 60 days.
Hey, Jeff, was that, were you lifting weights like 4 days a week, 5 days a week?
I was doing this most 5 days a week. Yeah.
So were you doing splits, like different body part focuses, like you do, whatever, chest and back on a certain day?
I was doing primarily, and like right now I have an upper body day. So pushes and pulls. I have a lower body day. Then I did a shoulders and upper body, more like arms day. Which I don't normally do that unless I'm doing 5 days a week. Then I do another upper body push and pull. And then my final day is another legs. So 2 uppers, 2 lowers. And my bonus was, since I did a 5th day, I get to do shoulders and arms for the pool.
For the show muscle day.
For the pool. Yep.
For the ladies.
Nice.
So a 5 day breakdown. And then, obviously doing my EFDs. And then I would throw in some other just mobility stuff in there, just either at the end of my workouts or even sometimes when I had a couple extra minutes. And then I was doing my golf swings. And then every morning I got up and did, I have to walk the dog in the morning no matter what. So every morning I just threw the rucksack on. 95% of the time I threw the rucksack on. There were a couple of days where my back was a little iffy, and I figured throwing 50 pounds on my back probably wasn't the best idea for it. But I would say I didn't get the rucksack until about 17 or 18 days into the very first forward. So probably the last, let's say close to 45 days, I've been rucking every morning, which again, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. I don't expect everybody to do that. I had a kind of a personal vendetta with myself to make sure that I did this to an extreme level. Obviously, when you create something like the Forge, you want to make sure that you do it to its fullest capacity. And I'm trying to just basically lead by example by doing it, and that way, hopefully, other people will push themselves when they do it as well.
So I won't give anything away because I know the numbers. They're pretty incredible. What was the hardest thing to stick to of all that stuff? Was it the diet? Was it the working out? Was it the no beers?
I would say, yeah, I mean, the food and the drink, and Brian, I see your question. I'll get to the rucksack question here in a sec. I would say the food and the beers, it's kind of like I go through those waves of like, oh man, I wish I had that. Or like, I'm very much looking forward to having a couple of drinks this weekend. We're making a gooey butter cake on Friday.
The St.
For those
Louis
of you that
thing.
don't know what a gooey butter cake is, it's a St. Louis delight. It's basically like yellow. It's a yellow cake with a ton of powdered sugar and cream cheese mixed together, and it's amazing. My wife made one for my son Sam's birthday about 2 weeks ago, and like that was the one thing. This whole, I mean, the food has. I'm pretty dialed in with the food now, but I've done this to some degree for the last 5 years, going
Right.
on some sort of a food, hardcore deal. But for whatever reason, man, she made that cake, and we had my brother and sister-in-law over that night, and but the cake was for the party the next day, and so it just sat there on the counter the whole night, and like my mouth was like, well, it was like, oh my god. And I've had a weakness for gooey butter cake, so like that was probably the thing that got me the most. But I'm a very like, even we go over to my parents' house like on Sundays for dinner a lot. Ryan and I, we had a bachelor party. Like, we're a very social family. And we usually have a couple beers or, whatever, wine at dinner. And so like, I miss the social of it. Like,
Right. I get that.
and it's not like, oh my God, I need to have it, but I really enjoy that. I really enjoy sitting around, having a beer with the boys. So that was probably the stuff that was like, oh man, that's what I missed the most. There were some mornings when I got up and I was like, I do not want to fucking go out in the cold snow. I mean, there were mornings, it was 8 degrees and it was snow and ice. And I went out and walked the dog with the rucksack on. But every time you get home and you're like, that's pretty cool that I did that,
Right.
in a weird, stupid way that only us idiots, and I include all of you lovingly on this call in that category, but we challenge ourselves like that. I think that's part of what's unique about the people that are on this call and the people that are in our crew, is like, that's the competitiveness inside ourselves that we have with ourselves that makes us want to be better at everything. It makes you want to be better at golf. It makes you want to be better at being healthy and fit and whatever you're doing. And so if you don't challenge yourself, and I was thinking about this on my walk the other day as I'm walking up and down the hill backwards and forwards with my rucksack on, like discipline, like the key to winning at being a disciplined person is trying to make it a game for yourself. Like trying to make it a game with yourself, where you have a scoreboard, you have rules that you have to follow, and you can either say yes or no. And, you kind of get a little high off of beating yourself at that game, or, beating that other version of you at that game. So that's what I think is kind of cool about the Forge. That's what I think is cool about just everything that we're all trying to do in, that's a game of golf too. Like, right. You're just always trying to get better. Let's see.
Do you
Marina,
remember,
when you put the rucksack on, do you ever get sore shoulders?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
go.
In
Let's go
fact,
back to the rucking, because I don't totally get it. Like, I know, obviously I know what it is. So like, what are the big benefits of the rucksack? And what is it? Like, if you're listening, you don't know, it's basically just a weighted backpack.
Yeah. So a rucksack, I mean, think of, Brandon would probably know this better than anybody. You think of, you look at the guys in the armed services and you see the backpacks that they wear, and that's a rucksack. Now rucking has become kind of a thing in the fitness world. I'm trying to look to see if I have a picture that I can flash up on the screen here. Where, guys just, you go ahead and you throw weights in a backpack and you go walk or hike. I love doing it hiking, like hiking through the woods, where you throw. So every week I kind of added some weight in. I'd add 5 pounds. So I think I started at 25 pounds and I'm up to 50 pounds now. And the idea is, you've just got some added weight to your walk, to your hike. So, and it's very close to what you do when you're playing golf if you carry your clubs. I mean, if you think about it, you throw the weight on your back, and then you're walking the hills, you're walking to wherever you're wherever your ball is. And so this is a very appropriate way to train for the endurance side of going and walking 18 holes. Or, if somebody has a big golf trip coming up or something, where they're going over to like Ireland or Scotland and they know that they're going to have to walk, or you're going to Bandon Dunes, like getting a rucksack and walking with some weight on your back a couple times a week is a great way to prepare you for that walk. Now, I don't recommend you swinging a golf club with it on or anything like that, but so doing that is going to build up the strength in your legs, because it just gives you a little bit more, again, resistance every step. Now, I don't recommend that people do it the way that I did it this past 40 days. I'm not going to do it like from here on out. I'm not going to do it 7 days a week. I think it's too much on your back. You're in a little bit of a flexed posture, so you need to make sure that after you do it, you do some stretching and things like that to stretch out your hip flexors and those kinds of things. So I want to caution people not to overdo the rucksack, but it's just a way for you to, it's going to increase your energy expenditure again, and it just makes it a little bit harder,
Right. And then so Brian had a question, the weighted vest versus the rucksack. Any thoughts?
I was just looking at Brian's follow-up. I use a push cart. Can I substitute in a 30-pound toddler in a stroller? You know what? It's a funny question, but yes, absolutely, you could. So this goes to specificity of training, right? Like if you use a push cart, like that's closer to what you're going to do on the golf course than carrying a rucksack. Now, if you carried a bag on your back, then heck, strap the toddler to your back, get a baby Bjorn and put it on the back. But again, that's specificity of training, where you're making it very much like the way that you want to use it when you actually perform the task. And then to your first question though, Brian, so thoughts on a weighted vest versus a rucksack. I actually debated a lot which one I was going to get. And I think I went with the backpack just because it ended up being more versatile, because I didn't know how much weight I wanted. I knew that if I ended up wanting to go with a lot more weight, I could buy more weight to put in there. Most of the vests, maybe go up to 40 pounds. And I figured I'd probably at some point want to go heavier than that. And I also debated, well, am I going to ever run in this thing? Which I don't really suggest running in weighted vests, or especially with the rucksack. The rucksack gets kind of bouncy. Even I've got a chest strap and a like a pelvis strap or waist strap, but I still wouldn't want to run with it. The weights kind of bounce around. So if you are, for whatever reason, going to be doing any running with it, like I know my buddy Tony, who does a lot of trail runs, that's kind of when I decided to get this thing, when I started training for that trail run. But I forget what it was, where I couldn't run. So I figured, I did something to my calf. So I figured, well, maybe I'll just I'll do a little hiking with some weight. But Tony was going to get one that he could kind of run some trails in. And so he ended up getting a weight vest. But I just think that having the extra weight and then running on it, the pounding on the joints that way, walking's a lot easier on your joints than running is. And if you've got a bad running gait and then you're throwing another 10, 20, 15, 40 pounds on, that's just, that's a recipe for an injury too. So just be careful with that.
Yeah. So I actually, Brandon would know the answer to this. So I've been told, like in the military, a lot of the Marines or Army, I guess Brandon would be Air Force, like the rucksacks that they have are like 70 plus pounds up to like 90 pounds, depending on where they are. And like a golf bag is a full golf bag is typically like 30-ish pounds. So it kind of makes us golfers look like weenies.
Yeah, a little. It just depends on what's in there, right? So it depends what you're doing. So fully loaded, it could be very heavy. So if you're out, doing your thing and you're not coming back home, you got to carry all your stuff with you. So it's almost like they get a little bit strategic in how they put everything in there. some of the stuff will be in pockets, some of the stuff will be in backpacks. So it could
Yeah.
get heavy quickly.
Yeah, like think about the guys who walk through the airport with everything that they own for the military, and they've got, the big duffel bags and the rucksack going on there.
Well, this is where my mind goes on my walk sometimes. So I had my 50 pounds on my back. I've had this thought many times over the last 40 days. And I'm thinking, like, what about these guys that go, in on these missions, they've got their sacks on, but they've got their firearms, and they're fighting, I'm like, and here I am walking the dog, and I'm like, what if somebody attacked me right now? Like, I couldn't fight somebody right now, because I would swing and I would like fall backwards onto my back, and like I'd be in so much trouble. Thankfully, hopefully my dog would take care of them. But I'm like, man, imagine these guys that are like climbing through the jungle, they're carrying guns with them, and they got to move quickly, they got to do all this stuff. I'm like, man, that just kind of gave me a little dose of reality of how big of a weenie I am.
Our lives are a little bit easier than and plus, like in the Middle East, it's 1,000 degrees every day with all that stuff on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be fighting like a turtle on his back.
Yeah.
Oh, you wouldn't last, Bodine. You're not cut out for the Crime of Lead fighting, Crime of Lead Park fighting.
No, I'm not. But no, but I really have enjoyed the rucking. I got a lot of use out of it. I'm definitely going to keep doing it. I haven't used it as much as I wanted to on the trails. And I think that's probably where I'll end up using it the most. As it gets nicer out, me and Sue and the kids, we love to go find different trails around Missouri. And I'm sure I'll be taking that thing with me. And so I highly recommend giving it a shot. Just, if you just want to try it, I'm sure you all have a backpack at home. You don't have to go buy a rucksack. I got mine fairly cheap at TJ Maxx, but it is way more heavy duty than a regular backpack. But just try it out. You can use a regular backpack, throw a couple weights in there, and off you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna start tomorrow morning. As a matter of fact, since we had that conversation this morning.
Yeah.
Just, throw like a 25-pound plate in there.
Yep.
Off I go.
There you go. I would
Nice.
recommend if you do end up getting one, get one with the chest and the waist strap though.
Okay. Yeah, I think my laptop bag has both those things. So plus it's got the padding in there.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, we've got a couple questions unless you want to add in anything to all that good stuff.
Nope.
All right. So first question, since a swing is essentially a 1-rep set with rest in between, breakfast falls aside, would you recommend a strength plan that incorporates high weight, low reps, or high reps, lower weight? This is from a runner, slowly turning golfer. That could be a John Shepard question right there.
I would start out with not worrying about the speed and power part of it yet. A runner slowly turning. Is this a runner with a background in training that's slowly turning golfer? Or is this a runner that has just run? Is this a John Shepard question?
This is John Shepard question.
Okay. Okay, that helps. Specificity on these questions helps. So I know that you haven't just been running, that you also have incorporated some strength training in there as well. I wouldn't, as far as like the speed and power stuff are concerned, I wouldn't necessarily, I would go with basic general strength training for the majority of your program. So somewhere in the 6 to 8 rep range, where you can kind of do some decent weight. You can build some of that strength, but maybe at the beginning of those workouts, find a couple high velocity drills that you could do. So like some med ball throws, or med ball slams, like those kind of things. Even some plyometrics, like do like a box jump, not high rep box jumps, but more low rep, a lot of speed kind of stuff. Or broad jumps, like one of my favorites is we've got a big thing of turf here. It's probably about, 50 feet or whatever. And I'll just have my guys do 5 jumps, like start out 2-footed, do a full jump as far as you can go, land soft, stop, reset, jump again, do that 5 times, see how far you can get in those 5 reps, and then rest, and do, take at least a minute, 2 minutes to rest, and then do that again, and do that maybe 2 or 3 times. You want to do your speed related activities at the beginning of a workout. So after you're warmed up and everything, do your speed stuff first. So, so like even med ball slams, things like that. Anything that you want to help improve your ability to be explosive and fast, you have to do when you're very fresh, because that's when your body's able to move the fastest. That's when you're going to be able to kind of recruit the most. Because if you try to, I've seen a lot of people try to do this kind of stuff at the end of their workouts, and their body's just tired and slower. And so you're never going to push your current threshold if you're already tired and slow. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So for you, I would say even like some kettlebell swings, things like that, where it's a little bit more of a ballistic explosive movement, maybe program those towards the beginning of your workout. Because that's going to allow you to move things quickly. And then I would just do your traditional strength training stuff after that, where you're doing your pushes and your pulls, because, it's, again, we say it all the time, it's not all about golf, right? There's so many other things that you're training for, regarding the running, life, kids, just being an active dad, doing all the things you want to do, that getting that explosive stuff first will be beneficial. And, even I really love like the medicine ball throws, because you can incorporate some of that rotational stuff in there too. But then make sure you're not negating the strength training piece after that, trying to just go for speed. If you really want to, again, go with specificity for speed, then I would recommend getting something like the super speed clubs or one of those other kind of training systems.
Thank you.
Yep. Any follow-up questions on that, John, or is that?
No, so I'm a little bit injured right now, and it might be an injury that is going to deter me from running in the capacity that I have been before. So I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to still keep up the I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to transition here. So so getting some of this advice, and I want to keep some aerobic threshold up in case I do jump into a race or something like that.
Mhm.
But also it's maybe the beginning of the end of the running for me. So
That's not good for a guy that has a company called 314 Running.
that is correct.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say, as far as keeping up the aerobic threshold, that's where, depending on what the injury is, I don't want to pry too much, but, even kind of staying on top of things like doing the rower or those kind of things. If you have access to like the air bike or something like that, where you can kind of push the resistance and the metabolic training a little bit, and get, kind of the highs and lows of the HIIT training. And then I'm a big believer that the strength training does more for the runners than most runners know. So getting a lot of the lower body through full range of motion, lower body strength training, lots and lots of unilateral stuff, lots of split squats and lunges and lateral squats and things like that is so beneficial for the runners.
Yeah, you proved that trail run. John, did you ever do that trail run that Bodine and I did?
Yeah, I was at one time the Clydesdale champion of that race. The 225 and over crowd, or 220 pounds, first fat guy across the line.
I love the Clydesdale champion. That's outstanding.
What's funny is the first year I ran that, one of the guys that I went with, he was the Clydesdale champ of that year.
That's right. Who was that?
Dave Custis. Do you know him at all, Shep?
I don't know him.
Oh, I thought it was Fagan, but I guess
No.
he didn't do that.
No, he's not fast enough.
He's not that fast. Nice. Cool. So kind of back to the rucking thing. So Jim said he's at lunch today with a colleague, and his freshman son just completed a 15-mile course with a 35-pound rucksack as part of his Army cadet training at Texas A&M.
Wow.
That sounds like a lot. Well,
15 miles.
no thanks. I'll do my 1 hour in the morning, 3 miles. But yeah, and then so Jim said, going back to Brian pushing his kid. Yeah, if you can kill two birds with one stone, hang out with your family and work out at the same time, that's a good deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a real good deal.
And this is kind of going into the more holistic piece, and obviously the child in that situation is fairly young, but it also just sets such a great example for the kids to see that exercise too, right? Like,
Right.
I can't wait to hear my kids in 10 and 15 years talk about the stupid stuff that I do. Like, yeah, my dad's an idiot. He would go out and walk the park with Luna at 5:30 in the morning with a weight vest on.
With a
But
backpack.
But they see that stuff, and I've talked about this before. Like, now Sam is doing like his push-ups every morning and every evening. And we
Yeah.
were talking this morning about, having to mix in some rows with that so he doesn't jack up his shoulders and stuff like that. And I'm like, these are conversations that are sparked because they see me and my wife do some of the things that we do, without us just like ramming it down their throat and telling them that they got to do this stuff, which I think is really cool. So I would highly recommend that, Brian, to start instilling that with the stroller. It's a great idea.
Absolutely. And then the stroller, you can hide a bunch of beers underneath too. Like if you're,
That's Ryan's stroller. See, Ryan just pushes a case of beer
Yeah.
and then he'll have more in his backpack.
right. Yeah, I've got 30 beers.
Yeah.
Hey, they get heavy.
I'm gonna have to send you guys some Shiner Bock from Texas.
Oh,
Yeah.
We've gotten into that a couple times.
Have you?
we would
yeah.
we'd put it to good use. That's for sure,
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah, they make a delicious
Where else
beer there.
where else do you find a fitness site where
Yeah,
they like to have as much fun as we do,
that's right.
right?
Drink
There's
beer.
always a reward for you.
Oh
That's-
yeah,
I'm
that's
doing
my
the forge,
carrot.
so that'll have to wait 36 days. All right, Brian's on the forge. I love it.
Oh,
good stuff.
excellent.
Good
Excellent.
stuff.
So you know what?
Uh,
Last night I dropped Maeve off at practice. Speaking of like lifestyle and having good habits. And so I just walked around the field. So it's like Creve Coeur Park. You can either walk around, there's a big lake that's I think like a 2.5 mile track, but it was dark out. So I just walked around the fields and I think they have like 15 fields. So it's well over a mile to circle.
Yeah.
I saw more people in their cars at their kids' soccer practice, just on their telephone, than I ever would imagine. Like there were way more of those people than people walking. It's like, you're out there anyway. Just
Yeah.
get up and like they weren't watching practice. They were just, and you could tell it wasn't like they weren't doing work. It wasn't a
Yeah.
laptop.
No, I don't have time to work out, Ryan.
Right.
don't
No,
have
yeah,
time.
nobody has time. You have an hour and a half of nothing to do. So I was actually talking to the dog. I'm like, Shirley, look at these people. I would like go knock on the window, like, hey, I've seen
Yeah.
you 3 times. You haven't moved. Me and the dog have been walking the whole time.
Yep.
Mix those two. All right. So Marina has a question here. So I'm thinking of buying a medicine ball. What weight would you suggest that I start with? I'm on the Blueprint program at the moment. So I guess is that the Golf by Blueprint, the Activate, which one you doing?
Yeah, not the Activate one, but the next one.
Okay, so the flagship, the original
The
Golf
original.
Buddy Blueprint.
What
Nice.
so what do you anticipate doing with the medicine ball? Just because that will dictate what kind of medicine ball and then also what kind of weight. More
Well,
like
even what-
slams or like do you have a wall to throw against, or will this be more like holding and twisting kind of stuff, or?
Well, I'd like to get the speed. So I had sort of thought of just throwing it against a concrete wall.
Okay. So,
Something like that. Something like you suggest. I don't really know, but
yeah.
I thought that's
And what does the space look like that you're going to be in? Is this,
it's
do you have
outdoors.
it's outdoors?
Yeah, it's outdoors.
Okay,
Just
so I
again,
would say it's probably, so there's different kinds of medicine balls, right? There's the slam balls
Hmm.
that are basically filled with sand that, you know, you slam and they just stop. So I would say for you, you do not want one of those
No.
because you're going to want something that's going to kind of bounce back to you.
Yeah.
They have then the bigger, like we have ones, they're huge and they're more like for a wall, like wall ball, like throwing it up against the wall. But they're really big and they don't bounce a whole lot, but they do bounce and come back. So that's that would be an option. But then they also make more rubberized ones. So if you can stand far enough away and throw it and let it bounce back, then I would get one of the rubber ones.
Yeah.
And I would probably just go with like an 8-pounder.
Yeah.
So it's not too heavy. That way you can throw it kind of like a shot put throw.
Yeah.
And it's also going to be light enough where you can throw it kind of like a rotation, you know, like almost a scoop throw kind of a thing. And that way it'll bounce back to you and you can pick it up. I do not recommend that ball though, for you to do like slams down on the ground. In case you've ever seen any of those fail videos where somebody throws it on the ground, it comes back and hits them in the face. I've seen that live in person, and it's people don't understand physics sometimes. But those bigger balls, those are good for like slamming like that because they kind of bounce a little bit, but not enough to come up and hit you in the face. So that's why I wanted to know what you were thinking of doing. All of those are good drills. And if you were going to get 2 balls, I would maybe suggest getting one of each, you know, but I would say an 8-pound rubberized ball that bounces will probably be the most versatile for you. Cause then you can do any kind of the rotation stuff, you know, if you're holding and twisting and doing different things. But that way you can throw it up against the wall in many different ways. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so we've got what 6 minutes left here. So there was a question about this is off to the side, like the whey protein after your workouts. So you and I talked about this a little bit earlier, the whey, and then what we have in our cabinet, I think Kendra's bought on accident, was a sustained protein. And so I did a little research, and so the
What's it called? Sustained
assimilation protein. So it's a first form one, but what that one's a blend is what I found out of. Like it's got whey, you know, some of the egg protein and some of the other stuff in it. So I guess the question is, what I asked you earlier is like, should I just be drinking the whey protein shake after working out, or what's kind of the best
what's
thing
the
for that?
do you know what the ratio, like the carbs, you know, the macros on that one, the sustained one?
There are not a lot of carbs. I want to say grams per scoop, so it's still really low. Let me look. And the calories are pretty low too.
Are both of them pretty comparable to each other?
Yep.
So probably about 20 grams of protein per scoop. I've got the whey stuff over in the corner here, and I think it's 20 grams of protein per scoop. And I typically will do 2 scoops per shake. And it's low sugars, like just a gram or 2 of sugars, stuff like that. I don't know. I haven't looked into what the sustained assimilation is. If it's a protein blend, that can actually be a good thing to mix up your protein. I have found over the course of years and years that when I do something like I'm doing right now with the Forge, where specifically on the meal plan that I'm on the last couple of weeks, I'm really heavy on the protein. And in order to get my protein numbers, I have to do at least 1 shake a day. And it starts to mess with my stomach a little bit when I do that too frequently. And so I then bought another more plant-based protein just to mix it up. And it's good to mix that up because sometimes your body does start to kind of, reject isn't the right word, but it definitely started messing with
Right.
my stomach a little bit. So I had heard somebody talk about switching up to, like more of a plant-based or hemp-based protein just to provide some variety. And I'm thinking that the sustained assimilation protein is probably because of that, it's mixing different blends of different types of protein
Right.
to get you that macro number, but so it's not so heavily based on one type of protein, like a whey,
Like a
because
way.
some people have issues with lactose and things like that where they just can't do the whey protein. So I think it's a good idea to mix your protein up. Really, when I'm looking at a post-workout shake or a protein shake that somebody's taking, I'm looking more at the macros and the calories first and foremost, to see if that's fitting into whatever they're trying to do. And then it's really like, what can they tolerate? What do they like? And what does their body like? I'm a big believer that most people for your post-workout shake should be high protein, low carbs and sugars. Unless you're really lean. Kind of the rule of thumb is unless you're under 10% body fat, your protein shake should just be higher protein, lower carbs and sugars. Because some of the like muscle building protein shakes as they're marketed, they will be 2-to-1 carbs to protein. So like 20 grams or like 40 grams of carbs for 20 grams of protein. And that's because it's got all these different sugars in it to help with the muscle building. But if you're already at 10+% body fat, you don't need all that extra stuff. You need to lean out first before you can get the benefits
Right.
of that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. They're pretty similar. The blend, I guess it's like a single malt versus a blended scotch. Yeah, the blended, I think so there's a little bit of fat in there, which the whey you don't get, and then there's a little more carbs in there, a few more carbs in there, and that might just be for flavor stuff too.
I bet that's 'cause there's probably some more like plant-based protein in there, which is going to give it some more carbs.
Yeah, they've got. Plus, how do you make something taste like red velvet cake?
Yeah.
That's it.
But so, and this is a good time to mention, like, why do a protein shake? There's the whole concept of, this anabolic window after your workouts, where that's the muscle building time. You need to get your protein in. And I think to some extent that has been shown that there's some validity to that. But more importantly, and Tony and I have talked about this a lot, is it's just an easy way for people to get their protein in. And so for us as trainers, we recommend to our clients to do their protein shake right after their workout, almost because that's a controlled way for us to have them get that protein in. Because a lot of times people will
Gotcha.
leave and they'll go eat lunch, or they'll go home and they'll do whatever, and they just won't do it. So if we tell them, hey, bring your protein, or here's a protein shake for right after your workout, we at least know that they're getting that in right away, and that's going to help rebuild the muscle that they just broke down in their workout. And people are notoriously bad at getting the proper amount of protein for themselves just throughout the course of the day. We're such a heavy carb dominant society that we don't get near the vegetables or the protein that we need to do what we want it to do what we want our workouts to do.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I typically, I work out at my mom and dad's house, and it's about 5 minutes away, and I race home to get my protein shake, because I've always been told that, hey, you got to take it like right after. There's that, exactly what you said, there's that window where you've got to, for whatever reason, but that makes my life way easier.
Yeah. That it's not that important. As long as you know that you're getting the rest of your protein, your protein in throughout the day. It doesn't have to be liquid protein, just gets into your system a lot quicker too. So it's easier. But if you're getting over the course of your day, your 175 grams of protein, you're fine. But I prefer, it's just easy, right? Like, so for me,
Right.
and let's face it, sometimes it's kind of a little bit of a treat. So to
Oh,
have
yeah.
that little chocolatey shake after a workout is a little bit of a reward.
Oh,
when
for
you
sure.
haven't had a snack in 60 days.
Oh, I can't wait to watch you destroy that gooey butter cake. Just start on the edges and work your way to the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like brownies because I like the edges way better.
I'm gonna
Cool.
like all of it.
I know. All right, so we'll up past time, but there's one question. I promise this is not loaded. Do you offer individual / remote training? That's from Brandon. Never heard of him.
Brandon Johnson. Not really. If you're here in town, I do. That's pretty much it. If I have people come into town to do an evaluation or something like that, and I can devise a program, that's the only training that I do outside of what I do here in the gym. You know, like I have even guys here in town that come and see me once a month, do an evaluation, put together their program, and then send them on their way, and then bring them back the next month and do it all over again.
And you don't want to travel with the tour. That much I know.
Only if Hayden offered me something cool to do it, but
Oh
I
my
would not.
God.
I would not want to travel with the tour full time. That's for sure.
No, that sounds awful.
And my wife does not want me to travel with the tour full time either.
Yeah,
Nor do my kids.
I guess it depends if you like your wife or kids.
Yeah, which I do.
All right. Well, there
Fortunately.
goes that career.
Yep.
Guess you're stuck here. The rest of us.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Fun show today. We're calling it a show
Yeah.
now. It's not a call. I like
The
that.
show. Yeah,
It's a
we need a
show.
better name than the Q&A.
Live Q&A. It's so boring and done to death.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down.
All
Better
right.
name.
Think of that, marketing man.
Better name. All right.
All right.
um,
Brandon's on day 4 of his forge as well. So Brandon and Brian both on day 4 of the forge. All right, boys. I'll be and Marina, stay tuned because I have the official back 9 of the forge of what we're going to be doing. And I'll share that very soon. I need to just kind of formalize it a little bit, but it's going to be a continuation of many of the things. The diet and alcohol portion is going to be very self-directed by you, because I know I'm going to give myself more leniency in those areas, just because, again, part of why we do this is to enjoy ourselves, right? So, but I didn't want people to finish the forge and then just fall off the ship, eat their gooey butter cake, and become a fat slob. So,
well on your way.
I knew that, and I've talked to several people that are kind of itching to have something else to be like dedicated to again. So it's going to be those things, and I'm a lot of continuation of the things we've done, maybe adding a little bit to some, scaling back on a few others. And then I've got a couple other things that are going to be thrown into the mix. So be ready. I'm
Nice.
planning on taking a week off, and then the following Monday is when I'll kind of get things cooking again for the back 9.
Now we've got a cousin wedding coming up in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So
I'll be
there's
okay.
typically beers involved with those functions.
That's okay.
All right.
I made it through 60 days without having a problem. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you looking out for me. But I got it.
Selfless. All right. Very good.
All right. We'll see you guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Stay
Adios.
strong.